tour. I guess since last time I did go see Raya and the Last Dragon. So I guess one by one we can all give our at one point, because that's what we've been doing. Pete was the first, then David, then me was kind of go through. I was going to try to watch American Reunion before tonight too, just to
we'll just end up reviewing the exact same movies forever. Just forever.
So what episode did you listen to? You were talking about Ryan the Last Dragon. I was, or Pete was, or
that
David
doesn't narrow it down.
That doesn't help us out.
Yeah.
Someone else was also talking about the American Reunion.
Yeah, someone brought up The Raid. Like, I don't know. They just that's
you guys
9
went on a very long
episodes.
Tangent about DC.
Yeah,
that still didn't help.
That's not helping.
Yeah, you're not narrowing anything down.
Someone mentioned something about solo sucking. That's every episode as well.
What else you got? What else you got?
Yeah. I need help. Help me help you.
If there's nothing else, then welcome to the All Pop No Culture podcast. I'm your host, Opie. I'm joined as always by Kevin.
Hey.
Alex.
Hi.
David.
Hello.
And Pete.
I think
this is the first time in 2021 that we skipped a week.
Mm-hmm.
And
we've been doing good.
It's true.
Yeah. So for those of you that were generally disappointed that there wasn't a new show last week, I apologize.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Like,
I will tell you, I was genuinely disappointed. I got to Wednesday, and usually this podcast takes up a chunk of my day, and I had nothing to listen to, and I was like, well, this kind of sucks.
Yeah, this kind of sucks. Well, that's usually why I'm thinking when I'm listening to this.
This kind of sucks.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I don't listen. So if you're new to the show, we are a pop culture centered podcast talking primarily about television and movies. And right now we are also in the midst of going through some franchises that we are required to watch. Right now I am finishing up the Godfather series. David will be starting on the Paranormal Activity series, as Alex also is going to be starting with Planet of the Apes, the more current version, not the, what was that, 60s, 70s, whenever those other ones came out. Mm-hmm. Kevin's got the Sean Connery series of Bond films, which I did watch the first. I was gonna start watching them all the way through. I think maybe near the beginning of quarantine, or at some point they were on like Hulu. So I'm like, oh, I've never seen the original. I'll just start watching all these. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say about the first one that you saw. And Pete is coming close to the end of Predator. So we will be discussing those films and the franchises a little bit later. But first, it's been a couple weeks since we got together. So why don't we go around the horn real quick, and we'll talk about just things we've been watching lately, whether it be a recommendation or a recommendation to pass. You guys are a little bit out of order on my screens this week, but we'll start on this side with David. How goes it out there? Did you watch anything interesting?
I watched
a break.
Bunch of stuff. I watched some stuff.
All right, good.
I got to see 2 movies in the theater this week. I went and saw.
Brag much?
Yeah,
right.
I know. Well, I had a free night on Tuesday, and I actually love going to see the movies alone. So I walked down to the movie theater for the $5, and
$5 can't beat it.
Yeah. So I watched the new Guy Ritchie film, Wrath of Man.
Oh, okay.
With
Jason Statham, right?
Yeah, with Jason Statham. It was pretty much your standard action revenge film. Someone wrongs Jason Statham. Jason Statham does things to get back at them for having wronged him. I've summed it up without giving anything away. But it's got a definite Guy Ritchie slant to it. And
does it?
One's actually pretty dark.
Really, I was curious about that only because
it does look darker than
the preview looked. I couldn't grasp what he was doing with that from his preview, because Snatch is one of my favorite movies. and I you hit
but
definitely.
It's not like Snatch. It's
not. It didn't look like anything I really recognized, to be honest. Because
to be honest,
Lock, Stock, and what's the last one he did with McConaughey?
The
Gentleman.
That
those all have a very similar feel.
It was very reminiscent to The Gentleman.
Oh, really?
But I would say that when I was in the theater and I saw the trailer for his King Arthur movie, as soon as that started rolling, but as soon as the trailer started rolling, I was like, "That's Guy Ritchie."
Yeah.
It was like I knew it was Guy Ritchie before it landed, just because of the way that he does certain things. And then when he fucking launched his name, I was like, "That's going to be bad."
Yeah,
that's not.
It was.
That's not a good matchup.
Yeah, I didn't see that. It didn't look good.
I didn't see all of it, but I tried to, and it didn't work.
Should we put a Guy Ritchie square on the old wheel?
Wheel. Are all of his films tied together? They should be.
No,
they don't tie together at all.
Stock and Snatch seem very much in the same.
They're very similar.
Yeah.
But
it's almost like Snatch is like a second run at Lock, Stock.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way a little bit. But it was good. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Cool.
I'm eager to see it again. I might try and talk my daughter into going on Tuesday if for some God reason she actually gets a Tuesday off. I'd like to see it again. I thought it was cool. It was fun on the big screen.
Cool.
So yeah, that one's a recommend. The second film we saw, we went to the Vine, which is our more art house local cinema, and
doesn't every town have one of those?
Yeah, everyone's got one, right? Who are the Vine, and we went and we got food and we sat down and we watched The Courier with Benedict Cumberbatch and the lady from The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Moynihan.
Yeah, it was.
No,
the one who plays Maisel.
Oh, yeah. What's her name?
I don't know.
It's Rachel Brosnahan.
Brosnahan. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
The acting was phenomenal. The movie was boring as fuck. The pacing was just brutally slow. It was pretty much just the same thing over and over again. It was like watching Groundhog's Day, but not, right? So it's just like the sequence followed. He goes to Moscow. They go to a party. They drink. They hand off. He goes back to London. He goes to Moscow. And it just keeps like happening. There's like no real change to it. Like I said, the pace is glacially slow. It was rough. Tisha and I both laughed and we were like, ooh.
What's the movie about? What's the plot?
So basically, the movie is about during the Cold War, they talk this British citizen who is just a businessman, and his business is basically facilitating the sales of machine parts. But he's really good at putting the right people together, and then he makes a profit off of it as the middleman. And he'd been thinking of expanding into the USSR, so they thought, okay, we'll talk this guy into finally making the push into the Soviet Union. We'll get him a contact and go from there, because the guy who leads the delegation who would speak to him has reached out to the Americans and wants to be an informant.
David, real quick, I gotta be honest, I already left the theater.
Yeah, I
was like, Jesus Christ.
That is the plot of the film. and they basically talk Benedict Cumberbatch, who is just a businessman, into being a courier of nuclear secrets back and forth from Russia to the United Kingdom. And it's a true story, and they go through all of that. And it could have been a really good movie. There were moments that should have been incredibly tense that just were not. They did not build tension. It was just not well directed, I think. They had a great cast and the actors really brought it, but it just
needed Michael Bay.
It didn't quite need Michael Bay.
Can't wait for the Snyder cut.
It definitely needed to move.
Yes, get Snyder on the horn. Let him take a run at it.
Almost came in with a Snyder cut. I tried to get people to go see Army of the Dead with me before the show. So
is that out?
It came out. It came out.
Oh, I gotta watch that.
Yeah,
I want to see it. I'm gonna see it.
Yeah, me too. It looks hella fun and
looks hella fun. Let's see, what else did I watch? I started Mythic Quest. And I gotta say, I have not been blown away, other than the one standalone episode that I completely forgotten about, but was reminded before the show. That episode was amazing. The rest of the show it doesn't quite land with me. I like some of the characters, but some of the characters are just so ridiculous or just so boring. I don't even care about them. Like the redheaded guy, I don't even know the dude's name. Like, and I've seen 7 episodes of this show. He's supposed to be in charge of things, but he's really not in charge of shit. Poppy's fun. I like her, and I like Ian. The assistant chick, the blonde,
Joe,
the
psycho one.
Yeah,
Joe's nutty.
She's not bringing anything to the show for me. Like, it's so ridiculous that she's still there.
She feels like this show's take on like an April Ludgate from Parks and Rec, except that she doesn't do it as well, in my opinion.
No, but the thing is she's also actively working against the company. April never actively worked against. She was all talk, and she never actually followed through with anything. So she was funny. This chick is like literally trying to kill people or get them to kill each other, right? Like, and when they tell her to do one thing and she just does the opposite. And I'm like, I have a hard time with stuff like that. You're just like, why would this chick be here anymore? Especially in a top level position. Like, that chick would be gone so fast. No way. Maybe I'm adding way too much realism to a stupid.
I think that's probably
yeah. I don't know. It hasn't tickled my funny bone too much. We're getting through it. We're watching it. Most of the time my wife falls asleep. So
I can see it. I mean, I can understand that. I'm a fan of it, mainly because I'm so used to a lot of those actors from It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
And for me,
I never really got into Sunny either.
So if you're not into Sunny, it makes sense. Not because they're not even, I wouldn't even call them the same type of comedy, but they're from the same minds, and so you can kind of see, I don't know. It's just like
that makes perfect sense.
So,
you're
but Sunny is just hilarious.
Yeah. I know a ton of people who loved it, and my wife and I have tried multiple times. And every time we get a little further in, and every time we go, still not getting it.
Yeah.
I see what they're doing and I get it, but it doesn't make me laugh.
Even that, like I can get that too, because again, it's one of those things like you're either into it or you're not. And even like now, like when I watch it, like some of the scenes I have a hard time with Danny DeVito now, as he's gotten older. His character just gets a little bit more absurd and like a little bit out there, where I'm like, come on, this is stupid. And but at the same time, I mean, the show will then have some random ass episode that's hilarious, and it's like, damn. So even in these later seasons, where it's definitely not as biting and out of nowhere hilarious like the earlier seasons, but it's still entertaining. But that makes sense. Mythic Quest was the same thing for me, and so like I remember I enjoyed it. It was so long ago that I watched the season, but it's funny, but it was almost like, okay, this is the first season. I'm really interested to see how it grows in the second, in which direction, which I haven't watched it yet.
I by no means dislike it. I'm going to continue to watch the show. I'm going to catch up and see what season 2 has to do. And if I get through season 2 and I'm not enjoying it anymore, I'll just cut it there. But it's good enough that when my wife wants to fall asleep, I can turn it on.
I think the last 2 episodes are probably the best of the season. The web episode and the last one where they were
at the holiday party.
Yeah,
I haven't watched that one yet.
Oh, you haven't? It's good. It's just again, it's one of those things where they're illustrating 2 different things at the same time, and you just have to and it's like, okay, see, obviously the heavy metaphors in there as far as but it's interesting. It's really interesting what they do with it. So,
and then
the web episode is amazing.
The last thing I watched was Host of London. It's on Netflix, and it's I want to say the actor's name is Matt Berry. He's in
he's in What We Do in the Shadows, isn't he?
Yes, he's in What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hit and miss. It's his early work, And a bunch of friends had been suggesting it, so I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And we laughed really hard, I think, for the first 2 episodes. The third one a little less, the fourth one a little less. So I'm hoping it picks up again. But yeah, that's the next one. It's funny, it's absurd. If you like What We Do in the Shadows, you'll probably like this. So
Okay,
that's my suggestion.
Cool.
Finally, and The Bad Batch, but I think we'll discuss that maybe as a group later, or do you want me to just dive
The Bad Batch. Well, I think, Pete, you're the only one that's watched it.
I watched that. I watched Mythic Quest and that, and something else on Disney Plus. But if we want to talk about Bad Batch, let's roll into that now.
Did you watch the new episodes of Mythic Quest?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I watched. So I yesterday, like Dave, I kind of had like a little bit of free time. So I said, oh shit, I can bang out Mythic Quest because it's only got 3 episodes in the season. I went and looked and realized I hadn't watched the web episode yet, and didn't even realize there was like the Everlight episode.
Oh Jesus!
So I went in and watched the web episode and was fucking floored. I thought it's easily, like, I've seen a bunch of shows, I've seen a bunch of shows that tried to do the web episode, and a couple of them did it okay. This was spot on perfect the way they did it. They used everything perfectly. There is, like, it gets really real at one point, and there's the scene with, so spoilers, it's just the scene with Poppy and Ian. They're like, it had me in tears. Like, it was really tight. Scene. That was fucking amazing.
There might still be people apparently that haven't seen this episode.
Well, that's why I talked vaguely.
David hasn't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
That's why I spoke vaguely. It's just a scene with Poppy and Ian. Just leave it at that. And then watched so far up through this season, and there's something about this show. It almost feels like, the show doesn't feel like this, but the way I feel about it's almost like Ted Lasso for me, where it's just a show with just like a lot of heart behind it. Even though it's like, it's these kooky characters, there's still this like sweet little bit of humanity running underneath all of them. And even though they're all these like grotesquely broken people, that are like caricatures out there, there's still like a human underneath that, and you see it leak out, and you see all their foibles and vulnerabilities. I'm just, I love this show. I don't know why it struck such a chord with me. I'm not a huge video game guy. I do kind of like, though, like the behind the scenes kind of shows. So it has been interesting also to watch everything they do with the actual making of the video games, because that's something I just didn't know. Like everything that went into all that, the different departments and everything else. Like in the second season, the stuff with the art department. And one episode,
I've seen anything.
So you haven't worked in that industry. It's not really very much like that. I mean, it's like, it's a little bit like that, but
it's surface level
steroids, and that's
well, I figured
it doesn't really.
I didn't. There's even for the HR person who is like, everybody on the show is amazing, even in the smallest, tiniest little roles. Brenda as the HR lady is fucking hilarious. Like I was.
Yeah, she is.
It's just a phenomenal show, and it's just one of those shows that just struck a chord and resonates with me, and I absolutely love it. And I'm like happily waiting for next week's episode now that I've caught back up into it.
When you say happily, what does that mean? Are you just like rock hard the entire time waiting for it, or
no? There's bated breath.
He's like half-mast.
Yeah. I
There's
can go at any
flopping it
time.
around a little, but
There's definite
not
blood
committing
flow.
to it.
Yeah. Like if I'm standing up, you could probably tell a little bit.
Yeah.
But if I sit down, I can hide it.
It's exact. It's definitely time to rock the gray sweatpants.
Yeah. All right. Well then, so overall, you would say you like the show?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right.
We'll leave it at that.
Way to keep it tight. And then
the other thing you watched was The Bad Batch. So it's just the two of us. We're the only ones. I thought Alex had watched it. You haven't watched it?
Yeah, no, there's been too many video games coming out this week.
All right.
There's too many, man. There's only so many hours in the day.
There really are.
It's true.
I think it's like 24 or something. All right. Bad Batch. What how was that? I mean,
it's fun. It's basically, it's a story of this clone unit that they were experiments when they were making the clones, so each of them is like a little better at something than the other one, and they've got different personality quirks and things.
They're all a little more specialized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I thought they were
Did
actually
any of them
like
shoot?
failures.
Did they give
Yes.
them the ability to shoot the gun
Oh yeah.
and hit things?
You
Very
actually
well, in
find
fact.
out some stuff about that in there.
Yeah.
Clone troopers didn't have as much of a problem as stormtroopers did.
No,
first
clone
of all.
troopers did
true.
fine.
Yeah.
They shot a shit ton of Jedi, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They didn't miss those shots.
Yeah. Well, that's actually where the show starts. Is it literally,
Yeah, or
like the first 10 minutes of the episode is all just like animated badassery, and then they go into, orders executed, and the clones start shooting the Jedi that they're with at the moment and everything else, and they it's not to give anything away, no spoilers, because you guys haven't watched it yet, but it's if you enjoyed the Clone Wars at all, this is the animation style is similar, a little updated.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's fun. It's completely straight action based in a lot of ways. There's a little bit of mystery going on with this little girl that they've introduced, who's also kind of you're not sure what she is, but she was from the clone, the Generations 2, and so she's got some sort of something going on, but you don't know what it is. And it looks like it looks like it's going to be interesting. So I think it's only like 7 episodes or 8 episodes, so it's not, they don't have a lot of time to put it together, but it's fun. It'll be fun to see where it goes.
I feel like I don't want to watch this show anymore.
So
Yeah,
so I'll say that
that's just how you feel after Pete talks about any show.
Yeah. The first episode is really long. It's like an hour 15.
It's an hour and 4. Yeah, it's an hour 14 minutes.
Yeah.
Damn.
And that is a really fun episode.
Yep.
The clone troopers are super cool. Like the ones for this show, they've got great personality. They're obviously distinct, and it makes them fun to watch. The second episode was a little less entertaining. And the third episode, I legit fell asleep in the middle of it. I first,
it's only a 30-minute episode.
Yes. First, I got bored enough that I pulled out my phone and started playing on it. And then I woke up with my phone bouncing off my face because I dropped it when I fell asleep.
Maybe you should play something more entertaining.
So, the third episode for me was just unwatchable.
Wow, that's
Pete hasn't watched it yet, so
No, I haven't watched that one yet. I've only seen the first two.
I look.
I have a feeling he's gonna say,
but
it was
I
fun.
just so bored. So it was very reminiscent of the Clone Wars. Those really terrible episodes that are like completely riddled through that show. They had one in this, which I thought was shocking to me, that they wasted essentially an episode.
That's probably
What if they just
episode.
just took one of those episodes and just reanimated it a little bit? They're like just recycled it. It's like they thought no one would even remember that episode because it was so bad.
Because it was so boring.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I watched it last night, right? It's been less than 24 hours. I have no idea what happened in that episode. I was so bored. It did not stick to my memory in any capacity. All I have is a vague recollection that it was colossally boring.
Okay. So Bad Batch is it started off good
for me.
Hit or miss.
I'm not really holding my breath to watch the next episode.
All right. Well, then we'll stay tuned. Anything else, Pete?
Yep.
Oh, shit.
Keep this one real short. I watched The Big Shot on Disney Plus.
Why?
What's
The Big Shot?
Yeah, what is that?
It's a fucking Uncle Jesse with basketball.
Okay.
From fucking Full House.
Moving on.
Why?
You're right. You're right. You were keeping it short. What else did you fucking watch?
That would be that then.
All right, perfect. Thank you. That was wonderful. Alex, please segue.
I haven't watched really almost anything except for my franchise movies this week because, like I said, I've been playing a lot of games. But what I did do, I'll talk about that in a second. What I did do was, and I mentioned this, I think it was the episode before we had our little break, that Scott Pilgrim came back to the theaters. And so I did actually go check that out because it is something I love that film, but I never got to see it in the theaters when it released. Cool. And they actually did some work with it. They like Dolby-ified, that's a word, the audio. And it sounded phenomenal. And the sound effects in that movie, I heard things in that movie that I've never heard before. And I've literally watched that movie probably 24 times. Like there were things that are just really subtle in the background that I was like, oh, fuck, I've never heard that before. So it was a really good time. I don't need to talk about Scott Pilgrim because we've all talked about it pretty much ad nauseum at this point. But if it's still in the theater near you, go watch it because just like it was shaking our seats. The sound was so good. And it was a really fun time. And everyone in the theater was just, you could tell we were just all fans and we were laughing. And Opie's still here. Who's gone?
We lost David.
Oh, David's gone. Bye, David.
Yeah, he just texted, says his computer froze, so he's rebooting.
Okay, bye.
Cool.
So yeah, Scott Pilgrim in theaters. Go check it out, especially if you've never seen it. That's where you want to see it. And then, like I said, there's been just a plethora of games that have come out in the past couple weeks. That's taken up most of my time. I think the main ones I'll probably talk about, and I'll keep it short because I know only one other person here cares. Is there's Returnal, there's Resident Evil 8, and then there's the Mass Effect Legendary Collection, which also came out. So there's a lot. I'll just go in order. Returnal is what's called a roguelike. So the thing about these types of games is basically every time you die, you essentially start over. Like you don't have extra lives. You don't get to save your progress. The purpose of the game is to sort of learn how each enemy works and learn how to traverse the map effectively and then use those skills until you master pretty much everything and can beat the game in one sitting. That's essentially what the idea of what a roguelike is. So that's what Returnal is. I've never really been a big fan of roguelikes, but this game looked really nice. And it does look really nice and it's designed really well. I still don't really like roguelikes. And so I've only played it for a little while and then I kind of got over it. So that one didn't take up too much of my time.
I get pissed at those games and then I'm like, fuck you. You don't have an easy mode. I'm out.
The thing about that game, that game does not have an easy mode. There is nothing easy about that game. And that's not even the part that bothers me. I prefer to like feel like I'm progressing in a game. Like I'm getting stronger or I'm getting better weapons or something like that. And this game doesn't have that. And I'm not a fan. I mean, it's not a bad game. It's for what it is. It's a very good game. It's just not a game that I feel like playing.
It's really pretty too, isn't it?
Oh, it's
like
so
it looks
good.
Really good.
The sound design. So on the PS5, because it's a PS5 exclusive, the new controller has such advanced vibration motors in it that they can do like crazy shit with like what you feel while you're playing a game. So in the first part of that game, you like land on an alien planet, you walk out of your ship and it's raining and you feel the raindrops through the controller. Like it's like, because it's like, it's tapping on your helmet because it's like in first person mode for the first bit. So you're looking around and you can feel the raindrops that are hitting your helmet and stuff like that. Like it's really immersive in that sense. Like I said, though, I just don't like starting the same shit over and over and over and over and over and over. And it just kind of got annoying. And I just was like, I don't feel like playing this right now. So I stopped, which is fine because then Resident Evil 8 came out. I don't know if anyone has because Resident Evil is like an old franchise, like PS1 is when it started. Has anyone played Resident Evil games here?
I only recently started. Yeah, I recently started playing from the beginning. So I have finished 3. So I've done 1, 0, and then 2 and 3.
The remakes of 2 and 3, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay. Very excellent games. Yeah, so this is number 8. As you can see, there's been a lot of these fucking things.
There's been way more than 8 too.
There have been. There's a ton of side games and other things, but mainline franchise anyway. This is 8. It's good if you like horror games. It's definitely got a lot of that going on. It's not as scary as 7, but the gameplay is better. So it's a little more actiony. You get cooler weapons. You fight all kinds of shit like werewolves and fucking I can't even describe what some of the shit you fight is, but it's a good game. I've beaten it a couple of times now because Resident Evil games they're
short.
A lot of them are shorter and they're meant to be played multiple times, and each time you play through, usually you unlock new special weapons or new things that you didn't have before. So I played through a couple of times and I enjoyed it. It's not the best. It's also definitely not the worst. And if you're looking for a really pretty semi-scary game with some good action, you could do a lot worse than this one. So Resident Evil 8 is pretty awesome. And then the last one is the Mass Effect Legendary Collection, which Mass Effect is an older game as well. It came out in 2007 originally. And since then there's been a trilogy and then another game that no one seems to like. But the main trilogy is like a holy grail within gaming. Like a lot of people regard it as like the best trilogy in gaming. And it is very, very good.
Except for the ending.
Which was fine. It's the same people who don't like Game of Thrones ending. They're like, this is the worst. And I'm like, it's not great, but it's also not the worst. You need to chill out.
Yeah, they just made some mistakes is all.
Yeah, I mean,
and they fixed them too. Actually, they patched them.
Fixed them.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But this game is definitely a grand sci-fi epic on the scale of something like a Star Wars trilogy, but in gaming. And you get to make all the choices because it's very choice based. A lot of the game, I mean, it's an action game to a degree, but a lot of the game can be solved through words, like through conversations. Like there are entire sections of the game where you have to fight these 50 guys, or you can talk to this person. And if you use the right choices in dialogue, you can convince them of something or you don't have to fight. So it's got a lot of flexibility. The characters are great. And this trilogy of games did something that not a lot of trilogies before it have done, and even since, which is when you play the first game and you make all these choices, and certain characters might live or might die, or this person this thing happens to this person, or this thing happens to this galaxy. When you play the second game, your save transfers over, and those choices come with you. So it really is like this giant story. Like it's not like when you start 2, you have to be like, oh, starting over. It's like if someone died and you're number 1, they're not there in number 2. Like whole sections of the game you'll never see because they're just not alive. It's really, really fascinating in that sense. I'm playing through in order, and I'm still on number 1 because these games are fucking long as hell.
Yeah, they're big.
But
how is the improved player interface for 1? Because
1 still feels
it's
dated.
Still clunky.
It still feels clunky. Not as clunky. I will say it does feel better in some respects. It looks really nice. I can't wait to see 2 and 3 because they already looked better than 1, and they've done the same like graphical updates to them. Because 1, the characters still look a little janky, but like the environments are gorgeous. Like they're really, really nice. And there is some quality of life shit that makes the experience a little bit smoother. And you don't play those games really for the gameplay. You play them for the story and the characters and stuff like that. And that stuff is still really, really good. And I forgot like how much talent there are in these games, like some of the voice acting and the voice actors in the later entries. They get like really famous people in these games.
Yvonne Strahovski from Handmaid's Tale and Chuck.
Yeah,
she's one of the main characters.
I forgot that probably no one cares about this except for Pete, but the Deanna Troi, Marina Sirtis is in the first one.
Yeah, I care.
Oh, nice.
She's awesome.
She is awesome. But yeah, they get in the later entries they get like a sheen. I can't remember which one because there's like 10. But yeah, it's a really epic trilogy of games that is worth experiencing just for the story. You will have to get over some clunky gameplay because it's from 2007. What are you going to do? But they did make it a little bit better, and it's not so bad that I can't keep going because I'm pretty picky about that kind of stuff. But the story and the world and the characters and just the universe they've built, there's so much information. Like it really is pretty groundbreaking in terms of games. Like it feels very, very epic. And
Mass Effect 2 is probably one of the best video games of all time.
That's a fact.
It's a really well-rounded beautifully told story video game that is just amazing.
I'm like itching to get to 2, but I don't want to go through 1 too quickly because I want to make sure my choices are still good so that when I get to 2, it's a better experience for me. Because I know I could like just start a new character on 2, but I don't want to. I want to like play this as one story. So
that's the best way. And it's so terrible for 3 that 2 is so good because like 3 never had a chance.
3's not bad. It's the thing. Like 3 is actually pretty good. Just a lot of people had a problem with the ending, but the actual game itself is pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
3 is on rails compared to 2.
Yeah,
absolutely on rails.
It is a little bit more guided for sure.
Yeah.
2 feels a little bit more choose your own adventure-y, I'd say.
Which is what makes that game so incredible.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, there's no argument here. Like 2 is definitely not only the best Mass Effect, but one of the best games probably ever made. And I'm really excited to get back to it. So yeah, if you've got about 400 hours to spare, you could play the Mass Effect Legendary Collection. I do recommend. I recommend all of these technically. I just Returnal's not for me. Resident Evil 8's a little weird and cheesy, but it's still good. And then Mass Effect is Mass Effect. It's in a league of its own. So as long as you can get over the older, clunkier gameplay. But that's about it. I've literally just been playing those because it's just so much fucking content. So
all right. Well then.
Are you awake again?
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Here.
I do have to say,
to be fair,
and came back and was shocked to find Alex still talking video games.
I had a lot to talk about.
I love hearing you guys talk about games because it actually does kind of make me want to go out and like get a PS5 and play Mass Effect the way you've just
go out and get a PS5.
Dude, you would not regret it. It would be worth every
you know what I mean.
Yes, it's on PS4. It's not a PS5 game. It's on so that's easy. I'm playing it on PS5, but it is technically a PS4 game.
Yeah.
Like, no, I hadn't realized that I had heard that like video games had these amazing stories, and I played some of the Final Fantasy games and I saw some of that and seen how, some of that's involved in some level, but the way you're talking about the way it, the choices you're making in 1 affect 2, which affects 3 to some degree.
Oh, it's so cool.
And it's really kind of
it's a rarity. Like most games do not have
a lot of games don't do
level of interaction, but yeah, it's something special for sure.
Yeah, I would highly recommend playing it, like without hesitation.
Yeah,
I am going to buy this, and I am also going to play through it.
I don't know. You probably weren't here when I talked about the graphical updates are really, really nice. It's a pretty.
I've been watching. I've been watch it, and then I checked today, and it was $60, and I thought to myself, do I have the time to play it just yet? And I don't. So I just
it's not the price tag, because that means it's $20 a game, which is way worth it.
Yeah. Well, I still own all 3 of them. So.
Well, yeah, but not these not the new pretty ones. You got to get the new pretty ones. True. Yeah, they're awesome, man.
All right, now I'll have Kevin talk video games for the next half an hour.
I talked about not just 3 games, because Mass Effect is technically 3 games by itself, so 5 games in the same amount of time that you fuckers talked about the Bad Batch. So don't get on my dick about that shit.
Kevin, please.
All right, so I have watched a few things, but also I started playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yes, more games.
I won't go into it because I'm really not
in
very
his
far.
Fucking chair right now. Like, help me.
I'm really not very far into it. It's an Assassin's Creed game. If you played one, you played them all.
More or less.
It's a solid game so far, but it's Assassin's Creed. I don't need to burn too much time on that. To be honest, I didn't watch a whole lot that was original. So I did watch Shadow and Bone on Netflix.
Oh, you did good. Okay.
And I'll be honest, I think I like it more than you did, Alex.
Probably.
Cool.
I thought it was pretty good. One thing that I really, really, really liked about it was that other than Ben Barnes, it's all nobodies at this point. Like nobody in that show is anybody.
I don't even know who Ben Barnes is, so they were all nobodies to me.
He was from the Punisher. He was the bad guy from the Punisher.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But like he is the biggest name in the show by like leaps and bounds. You can go to almost any actor in the show, and they've done like 3 things in small parts. You do have to like fantasy a little bit to be able to get into it. I think I don't know that it's going to appeal to everyone, but like Alex said, the production value is very high. Like it looks really good. I didn't have a problem with the acting. I like the characters. I like the story.
I didn't have a problem with the acting. I had a problem with some of the character choices, like what the choices that characters made in the show. I thought some of them were kind of foolish, which is whatever. That's the script. It's not their fault. It's just, I thought it was like, that's kind of stupid.
What was interesting to me too, is that it's based on a young adult series of books, but all the characters are actually like in their 20s, which is really rare for like a YA series. I don't know if the books, maybe they're younger. I don't know. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was actually better than I expected it to be. And it was kind of cool to go in with like slightly lower expectations. And I think that helped me enjoy it more. But like I said, what I really liked is the fact that nobody was anybody. Like I didn't have any expectations from any of the actors because I've never seen them before. So that was pretty cool. And then I was trying to get to Bad Batch this week, but I had not watched the Clone Wars. And so to be allowed by my youngest son to watch the Bad Batch, I had to make it through at least season 7 of the Clone Wars. So in the last 2 weeks, he conceded that I did not have to watch all of the Clone Wars, but on Disney Plus, they have the Essential Clone Wars, which was everything up to season 7 and then all of season 7. So there was peppered in episodes from the earlier seasons, which was like on average, maybe 2 episodes per season.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
That's
so we got
through super fair. For as much as I got through, that's totally fair.
Yeah. But like, I will tell you right now that watching it that way, because it was hard to watch at first. Like I was kind of bored a lot of the time and not necessarily loving all the episodes. And then, but watching it this way, you got in the earlier episodes of The Essential, you got some really good Obi-Wan stories with her name is Satine, is what her name was.
Yeah.
She is like the girlfriend that we didn't know Obi-Wan had. And that storyline was interesting, and it tied in some Mandalorian stuff. So that was cool. And then they started one of the best. There was a 3-episode run of an Ahsoka story that was like pivotal for her character going forward, but it was like this big murder mystery where she gets blamed for murder, and then the next 3 episodes they're trying to prove that she didn't do it or whatever. And I'll be honest, dude, it was fantastic. Like those 3 episodes were great. And then season 7 was pretty fantastic too. It was mostly her, and then it tied into Order 66, and then it ends. Like it's right at Order 66. There's like 1 more episode. And that last episode is all action, and like having watched it that way, I'll be honest, from what I saw, I really, really, really enjoyed the Clone Wars. After I stopped watching it like religiously 1 episode after the other, watching those Essential episodes, it was considerably better. And I would say that because my son also made me watch episode 3, because that's Order 66 before we watched the Bad Batch. And I will
keeping
say
you on track.
Oh, dude, yeah. But I will say that the Clone Wars, watching it with those Essential episodes, is the best thing that came out of the trilogy, the prequel trilogy. It's watching those Essential episodes. It's better than episode 3. It's obviously better than episode 2, and it's better than episode 1. The storytelling was better. Having watched literally today, finishing episode 3. Like the fucking animation in Clone Wars is better than the CGI in episode 3. This because like, dude, like I was watching some of it and like they'd zoom out and I was like, this actually looks exactly like the Clone Wars, except it's supposed to be live action and real. And the episode 3 is my favorite of the prequels. And I realized watching it today just how bad it is. There's still just like a ton of like dead space in there that they could edit it out. They should never in any movie have ever let Anakin talk to Padme. Like they should just never be allowed to speak to each other. Like, not only do they have no chemistry, but the shit that they wrote for them was fucking horrendous. Always.
There's no they. This is all George's fault.
No, for sure.
You're drifting. You're drifting.
Sort of. I mean, I watched episode 3, so I'm talking about it.
Did they not include the Darth Maul arc in the Essential episodes?
They did include some of it, yeah.
Okay, good. Because that arc is exceptional.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, to be honest, I really, really enjoyed the Clone Wars Essential episodes. I thought it was...
I didn't know they had that. That's really cool.
No, that sounds cool. You've sold me on watching that because I've stalled in the Clone Wars yet again.
Yeah,
it's really hard. It's really hard to tell people to watch Clone Wars because I've seen all of it, and it doesn't get good until season 3, and no one makes it that far.
Exactly.
Especially when there's there's only like 300 per season.
Something like
somewhere
that.
Around there, right?
Give or take. That's ballpark. Yeah. It is.
A lot
of
character development on every single fucking clone.
Every clone. Yeah. It's tough, man, because there are some great stories in there, but there is some filler bullshit, and the first 2 seasons are hard to get through. Like, I admit that. I like all of the Clone Wars if I have to blanket it, because there's enough good in the back half that the first half is just kind of like, well, whatever.
Season
I had to get
7
through
is fantastic.
I still haven't watched season 7.
Dude, that one, I was thoroughly impressed. I think that's actually why they came out with the Essentials, because season 7 was coming out. And so to get people caught up to what was going to happen in season 7,
that makes sense.
I think that's what that was for. But it was, like I said, way better. The only other thing that I tried to watch, and it sucked pretty bad, so I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, is Jupiter's Legacy on Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah,
crap! I saw like the trailer for it and was like, oh fuck no.
This looks like
Amazon Prime. I thought that was
Watchmen.
Netflix.
Maybe it's Netflix.
I think that's
the one with Josh Duhamel.
Yeah, maybe it is Netflix.
Yeah, I think.
Either way, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter, dude. It was. Oh, it's bad.
I heard it was bad. Okay. It's not great.
That's what I heard. I heard it was all right.
Dude, the pacing's really bad. It looks like cheesier than a CW show. Like, I'm serious. Like,
I like that as a barometer.
Yeah, if you look at the special effects in Shadow and Bone, and then you look at the special effects in Jupiter's Legacy, it's night and day. Like, it just looks bad.
Yeah.
Like the Boys is a far better superhero. Like, the action in the superhero parts of it is far better than Jupiter's Legacy.
Boys is fucking top notch.
Boys is dope,
right?
And the Boys,
but you hear about this show that is similar a little in idea to the Boys, not as dark.
Yeah,
but it's like the shit that these heroes are going through.
It looks sort of like Watchmen / The Boys, like is kind of the vibe I got from just the trailer.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, it's not as good as either one.
Well, not as good, but like just what they are going for is what I mean.
Yeah, and it was a Mark Miller comic book, and it's not good. I wouldn't tell anybody to watch it, unless you really don't like yourself that day. Like none of the acting is really very good. I mean, I would generally speaking, I don't expect a ton from Josh Duhamel. I like him, but I don't think he's a particularly great actor.
Yeah, I like him to a point.
Yeah,
I didn't even know.
I mean, Transformers
art.
Well,
Transformers. I mean, that's top notch.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
that's.
But that was Michael Bay. I mean,
when you put him next to Marky Mark, trying to do whatever he was trying to do.
It's just. Is that's all? That's all.
Yeah, I think it's all I've got for the stuff that I watch.
All right.
Besides Mythic Quest, we should talk about.
Yeah, I'm still making my way through Arrested Development, but the only new thing I saw was actually today. Me and the wife started watching The Mosquito Coast.
Oh yeah, I've been meaning
Apple
to watch that.
TV Plus show with Justin Theroux as the lead. It's interesting. We didn't know anything about it. Didn't read a synopsis or anything like that. And just started watching the first episode, and really the first episode doesn't tell you what's going on. It just starts off with, Justin Theroux is he's this he's apparently some genius guy who was like an idealist, living out near Stockton somewhere, but with his family, his wife apparently comes from money but has kind of separated from her family, and they have 2 kids, one getting ready to go or applying to colleges and stuff, she's 15, and then a little bit younger brother. And it kind of just starts off with his day-to-day. Justin Theroux, he seems to be kind of like a guy who goes around, fixes stuff. He collects used oil that you fry chicken in to process it to make it into biofuel, all this kind of stuff, that kind of thing. And come to find out that they're in hiding, and then from there you don't know from why they're secretive and this and that, so little clues come out here and there, but you really don't know what's going on. And then it really starts getting into the story a little bit right at the end of the first episode. There's 3 out, I think, right now, but we don't watch the first one. But it's interesting, it's well shot. I was making mention to the wife about how this being another Apple TV Plus production, everything we've watched that's been Apple TV Plus so far, which we probably watched maybe half of that's out. So, but what we've watched, 1, we've generally liked, but 2, the production or the diversity in the way the shows are shot and stuff is all different, and so kind of, but it all looks good. It's all quality. So it's interesting just to see how what a year, maybe a little longer, these offerings have come from Apple TV Plus as a service. It's just been, it's pretty cool. I think it's good quality stuff. So I know, like, For All Mankind, I kind of want to start watching that. I heard that was really good.
That one's good.
Yeah. That's it. That, and like I said, Arrested Development, which, man, it's like, I thought I watched it all before, but there's just all these little sub storylines that I just did not remember, and actors that are guest appearing on there. I'm like, geez, I don't remember that person either. So it's really cool. It's really funny. It's hard to tear away from that, because I do want to start Letterkenny again, but I want to finish this first before I get into that. And then I'm almost done with Friends. I think I'm midway through the 7th season.
You mean done in time for the reunion?
Oh my God. Some of the like episode to episode, certain characters will really bug me based off, if it's surrounding anything around Monica's, any of her neuroses. It's just like they just dial up to 11. But like when she's kind of like just the supporting character in the episode, she's like totally bearable, totally, worth watching. It's just hilarious. So, but make my way through that. And then I'd watched my franchise movie last week, and there we are. So we're finally to the franchise.
Actually, I forgot one thing.
No, you did not.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did.
No, you did not.
Yes, I did.
What?
I watched The Raid.
Yeah, you did.
Yes.
Let me guess, you liked it.
It was good. It wasn't like a movie, the kind of movie I typically watched recently. It has made me want to go watch more movies like that. Like, it kind of got me back into like fight flicks. I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch Ip Man now.
Ip Man is fantastic. The first one specifically.
It's good. There's a decent little storyline running through it. It's all incredibly predictable that way. But the fight fucking choreography is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's absolutely insane. From improvised weapons to actual weapons, just it's amazed some of it that they do, that like you almost think it would be like lightweight wire work with some of it, with the running and jumping and some of the almost parkour stuff, but it's not, because you can tell it's not.
Yeah.
And it just really is. It's totally worth the watch. I want to watch Raid Redemption now, or the
it's even better.
Raid 2 is insane.
Yeah, Raid 2.
It's good. There's a weak story in the first one. The story is there just enough to keep you entertained from fight to fight. right? It's not terribly robust. The second one has a great story that propels fucking awesome action.
All right, cool.
And it ties intimately into the first movie as well. Like they are linked very heavily. So hopefully you paid close enough attention to some of the things happening in the first one.
Yeah, we'll find out. But yeah, yes. No, I could definitely, the raid, Alex and David are absolutely right on the raid. It's totally worth a watch. It's a really, really good actioner.
It is.
And now on to our franchises.
Yes, on to our franchises. Since I'm the only one spinning, I guess I will have to go last, or I'll choose to go last. Shit. Which Predator are you on, Pete?
The Predator, the newest one released. Don't worry.
And how's that not the last one?
Because I've still got to do Alien versus Predators movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I guess it's like a Band-Aid. Go ahead.
You know what? I'll be quick. It's good. It's a fun watch if you've watched the other 3 Predator movies. It's a solid actioner. The plot's a little convoluted and interesting, but they're kind of running out of stuff to do.
Wait a second, real quick. Will you do me a favor? After this episode's over, will you just go ahead and separate your audio from your reviews, and so we can use that as just basically like a punch-in, because you say the same thing. You just said the exact same thing. It's a good actioner. No, it's fun. It was entertaining. So just to save us time, in case you're ever not here, we can still just throw your comments in.
Fine. I'll get a thesaurus.
So I get these thoughts. I just have to say them, Sorry.
Well, that's right.
Just a little production. I mean, you can edit that out if you want. I know you won't, but you can.
Yeah, it's part of the charm.
Sorry, you were saying Predator?
Yeah, it's a fun action movie. That's like really all it is. The Predators, they capture a Predator because he crash lands and right in the middle of like the CIA hit thing or some shit, and they analyze him and they find human DNA, and they find out that the Predators have been taking DNA from other species and adding them into themselves to like kind of juice themselves up. And you've got at one point like 2 Predator dogs that are running around.
Do they have helmets?
No, they don't.
Oh, no. Okay. Who's in this one?
Boys.
Is this the Adrian Brody one?
No, that was the last one.
That was the last one. Okay. Yeah. This one has Boyd Holbrook. What is it?
Boyd Holbrook. That's his name.
Who played Pierce in Logan.
He was the bad guy in Logan, like the country guy with the metal hand.
I don't remember.
He's one of the Reavers.
Oh, okay.
He was really good in Logan.
Yeah. There's kind of a subplot where the guy who found was the CIA agent or the army guy who was doing the assassination attempt in the beginning of the movie when the Predator crash lands. He winds up bringing home or sending home some relics from the Predator, like a mask and an arm piece. And he gets to his house and his kid is autistic.
Did he send it home like through UPS?
He did.
Yeah, basically.
Yes.
Wow. No shit. Yeah. It's
this movie. I think this movie, I haven't seen it in a while. I think this movie starts really well and ends really bad. Yeah. Like it has a really promising setup, some good action in the beginning, decent characters. Like you don't need amazing characters in a Predator movie. Half of them are going to fucking die anyway. So it's like the setup is fine, but it just really falls apart on itself. And some of the shit like that is like, huh? Like he just goes into like a post office in like, I don't remember where he's in South America somewhere.
Yeah, it's in like Mexico. And he's like, this has got to get there. And it's like a package thing. And it's like, okay, that's going to make it through customs. Like this seriously. Weird radioactive thing that the government's already looking for.
Yeah.
Anyway. And it goes home to his kid. And it was kind of a cool twist that they tried to do where his son is autistic and he's got like these real like mechanical inclinations and leanings. So he winds up summoning the predators basically because he gets the mask and the arm guard and activates.
He can
them.
like understand their language, like those little black lines and dashes that like make up their numbers and letters.
Yeah,
he like deciphers them and can understand how their technology works.
What luck!
Well,
I know.
no, because that's what happens.
That's convenient.
The predators then zero in on him as they want to get his DNA to make another hybrid, because they looked at his autism as the next level of evolution, because he's got this whole thing on. So I dug what they were trying to do there.
Do they have like a conversation about that?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Oh.
Not the predators.
It's clunky.
It's clunky,
and it doesn't. It's. If you want a Saturday afternoon action movie that's on while you're like folding clothes or something, this is a good movie.
It's very specific.
It's got a decent ensemble. Like Predator movies, a lot of times have an ensemble. There's some pretty cool
Keegan-Michael Key's in it as a thing. Thomas Jane's in
Alfie
it.
Allen,
K. Brown, Olivia Munn is in it as a scientist. I buy it.
Now you're naming all the people that we know. You start off with some dude who's just random. He's just like the lead character?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Well, so now you got the Alien versus Predator movies. There's two of those.
I started the first one, and I remember. Yeah, we'll talk about it when I finish, because I'm so disappointed. Again, it wasn't just the first time I watched it. Like it was one of those. That's one of those movies I watched the first time, and I was so excited for, because back in like the birth of the internet, like one of the first things I did when I got online randomly was download and read a bunch of Alien versus Predator fan scripts that people had made based on some of the information based on like the Image comic, or I think it was Image or Dark Horse, whichever one that they did there.
There's legitimately published Alien versus Predator
like
novels that are actually very good. At least the first couple that I've read are. I haven't read too much past it, but I read them back in the day, and they're actually really solid. And I wish they would have just adapted those for the movies, because they're so much better than the bullshit that we got.
Yeah, I remember. So I've watched like halfway through the first Alien versus Predator, and it was, again, I watched it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I was so disappointed in this the first time around. So I'm looking forward to getting through Requiem, which I have never seen, because I was so disappointed with the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be next week.
Okay. Well, then we'll just swing it on over to Kevin here. We're starting off with Sean Connery,
Dr.
the original.
I'll tell you what. This might be the most serious Bond movie until Casino Royale. So it was in the 60s, so you have to watch through the lens of it being made in 1962, I think it was, because it's slow as shit.
Yeah,
it is paced like a 60s movie, and that's just the way that movies were made back then. So it's definitely not fast paced. The action is not good by today's standards. But it doesn't lean into the cheese as hard as most Bond movies do, or did, later, like fucking Moonraker. Let's go to the moon. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's some cheesy ass shit out there. This doesn't really do that. It opens up. There's in Jamaica, where obviously we do a ton of, spying. But it opens up. There's a woman in Jamaica. She's trying to call MI6 on her radio, and these dudes come in and kill her. And then they go and they kill this other dude. And so MI6 finds out that their agent is missing. They don't know she's dead at this point. So they decide to send Bond over. And he goes over. And when he gets to Jamaica, this dude shows up and he's like, hey, the agency sent me to pick you up. And Bond is like, hey, I'm not a dumb shit. So he goes and calls the agency, and they're like, hey, did you send somebody? And they're like, no. So he takes off with this dude. And the guy, is trying to play it off, and he pulls the dude over. And before he can get from the guy, who he's working for, the guy asks him to smoke a cigarette, and the cigarette's a cyanide cigarette. So he kills himself before he can give any information to Bond. And so, like, a lot of the story is just really drags, like it's really slow. because
you do get to see where all Austin Power ideas came from,
right?
Yeah.
But like it doesn't really explain what's going on early on, like other than this girl disappearing. Like it's you're just trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. So he's trying to figure out what happened to this girl, and then after some shit goes down, he decides to check out a boat that this other dude that she knew or that she worked with might have been on. And so he goes over there with a Geiger counter and finds out that it's radioactive, which there's no indication that radioactivity is anything anybody would be looking for. So that's neat, but it drives the plot forward. So that's cool. So there's like this mystery island that the Jamaican guy is like, I won't take you there because it's bad. You're like, okay. So Bond meets up with this girl, and they go to this mystery island where they immediately get captured by some henchmen, and they take them down and they meet Dr. No. And so it turns out this mystery island with its radioactive shit is designed to block a space mission by the U.S. And which at the time, if you think about it in the lens of the 60s, is really interesting because we were not, we hadn't put a man on the moon yet in 62. The manned space missions were pretty uncommon. And so, Bond is there with the girl. They take the girl away to try and convince Bond to join their side, which interestingly enough, the bad guy team that Dr. No is working for is Spectre, just to tie into the latest trilogy
that's pretty
4
cool.
movies from
so it's a nice tie back.
Spectre.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I told you that last one really felt like a huge homage to like old school Bond.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah.
Well, Spectre's a bad guy that comes up a bunch in the Sean Connery Bonds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because it was in the books. Like Spectre was a big deal in the books. But it makes sense too that it would, because if you look at the what's his face Bond movies, the current ones, Daniel Craig, those were kind of an origin story. Casino Royale is the first Bond story that Ian Fleming wrote.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, it basically in Dr. No, Bond foils the plot, throws Dr. No into a pit where all the radioactive shit is, so he dies, and then he gets the girl at the end.
Yep.
Like, and that's the gist of it. It's not particularly exciting, but like I said, if you watch it and compare it to other movies in the 60s, it is exactly of its time.
Dr. No's the one with like where Dr. No is like a vaguely Asian in a racist way with the cat that he's always petting.
Yeah.
Does he pet a cat, or is that just
I don't remember. Yeah.
And then it really shows the times on how men are to treat ladies.
Well,
yes.
If a woman flap them, it'll give it to her.
Yeah. I mean, I remember some of those scenes like, damn, they could not make that scene today.
No. Yeah.
Well, I always love some of the sex scenes, the way he leads in, because like the way he like,
there's
the
one
woman
in there
just
that's like super rapey.
Super rapey.
You're
like he's
like
just like,
Blade
we're
Runner
just gonna
rapey?
do this now, and they just kind of cut, and you're like, whoa.
Well, no one says no to James Bond.
Yeah, there's one, and he's just like, it's rapey. Like if you put that in a movie right now, you'd be like, that dude is raping that girl. But then afterwards, they're like laying in bed and smoking a cigarette, and everybody's happy.
Yeah,
and you're like,
Y'all, you saw The Accused, right? It was a little worse than that. All right.
So,
cool. Yeah. Well, I think I made it through 3, maybe 4 of the Sean Connerys before I'm just like I couldn't do it anymore.
It's not exciting.
No, they're so slow. It's just like
the fighting is super cheesy, like super cheesy. Yeah.
So, but it's where you get a lot of the the original stuff of like the villain monologuing and
Yeah.
The unnecessarily long or complicated death setup, that kind of stuff. It's just, so
and
it's good for as far as
like
a pop culture reference.
Yeah.
All right. Well, swinging around the horn here, we'll go down to David, who watched the first Paranormal Activity. Had you seen this one before?
No. So I'm not a huge horror film fan.
Why? Just
I don't find them terribly entertaining most of the time. Sometimes I find them. The horror comedy genre I'm a pretty big fan of, like slasher flicks and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll watch them just because I'll be like, hey, I want to watch that. I think I've seen way more than I want to admit to myself, because like as Alex was describing each one of the Nightmare on Elm Street films, I realized I had seen every single last one.
Those, because of our age, I had seen almost all of them, at least.
But I'd seen the new ones too.
That was kind of scary. Yeah,
I knew what I was doing at that point.
That's the part that like bothers me. So, anyways, so this film is really just a modern retelling of the Blair Witch Project, just in a different environment. It's essentially the same damn thing. So I looked it up on Wikipedia afterwards because I wanted to know a couple things. One, how many films there are. There are currently 6. There was supposed to be a 7th one that would possibly show up, but I think the pandemic delayed it. I don't think it was ever even shot. So,
which is odd.
Done one in Zoom. They should have just done one in Zoom.
It should have been it shouldn't even been affected based off the type of filming they do.
I don't even know where it goes from here. So basically, like, this film does a great thing when it opens up, and I spotted it right away. And it starts off and it says Paramount Films and the makers of this film would like to thank the families of, and then it names the first 2 characters, and the San Diego Police Department. That's all it says.
Yeah.
Right. It just says, I want to thank these people. But that's how the film opens, and then it's just going to imply to everyone that this is a true film, and that, those entities,
which is exactly what Blair Witch Project did.
Yeah, right. So they're like
Blair Witch had a little bit more though, a little more hype built up to try to make it seem legit.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that was more
until that movie released. Like,
that's a pretty unique setup. But anyway,
so here's what I'll say about Blair Witch. While we're on it, I went to film school when Blair Witch came out, and so we got to see the movie about a month before it was released. So they came, they got a whole bunch of film students. We watched it and we kind of gave them opinions afterwards. We were like a test run, and it was right in the middle of like the whole hype, and we watched it, and it was still very unclear whether this was real or faked. I mean, everyone was pretty damn sure it was faked, but at least the end of it. But it was and they'd done a great job of muddying the waters. That movie's not my favorite, but it was an incredible experience to see it in a room full of like film majors. Just
my story about that, I don't know, if you remember where I was living when that movie came out. That's when I was living in Calistoga up on
in the woods.
So I watched that movie and then went home into the fucking darkness of the woods, and I was like
might not have been the best movie to watch.
That was the movie that
that's like the cave hermit watching The Descent and then having to go home.
Well, Kevin, we were both. I think so. Obviously, you had already left Circuit City, but I was still working there when that movie came out, and so for like the next couple of weeks, every now and again, I would find myself, or I would have people come around corners. I'd be standing in the corner of whichever room they're coming into, just to freak people out.
Nice.
So anyway, okay, Paranormal Activity.
So basically, this is the same thing. The film was shot for $15,000, and that I'm still not quite sure where they spent that money. Probably craft services.
I was gonna say craft services. That's at least 10 grand.
Yeah. So and then apparently Sony bought the film for like $375,000, and then dumped another 200 grand into it to spruce up the CG and the ending and stuff. And then it went on to make $200 million worldwide, which is fucking ridiculous. So it's considered one of the biggest success stories, if not the biggest. There's argument over various things, but whatever. Anyways, so the film is about two people. You have Mika and Katie. They are dating. Mika has recently moved in and has found out that Katie has, since the age of 8 years old, been haunted by an evil spirit that follows her around, and it whispers in her ear, and it makes noises, and it knocks things over, and it moves things around, and it's been doing it since she was 8. And sometimes she can see a haze. And his solution is that he buys a camera and is now going to record everything that happens in the hopes of capturing, this entity. So they have the camera. He's basically just carries it around with him everywhere. And pretty much the whole movie is them bickering while he follows her around with the camera, and then them sleeping, like in the picture for them watching the video, then them sleeping, and then the camera like ticking forward. And anytime they show a night, something's going to happen. They don't show you a night where something doesn't happen.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
The 20-minute interval of nothing.
The formula is pretty much the same. But pretty early on, they bring in the third character in the film, who is the psychic, who shows up long enough to go, okay, this is here's the rules of this world. There are two types of entities. There are ghosts that are former humans. He's like, and then there are demons who are extra dimensional or planar entities that were never human. And he's like, this appears to be a demon. I'm a ghost psychic. I'm out of here.
Yeah. I remember that.
Right? He just bounces right away.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, you're fucked.
You're fucked. Yeah. Oh, and then he goes, okay, there's a demon psychic in, this takes place in San Diego. There's a demon psychic in Los Angeles. So he gives her the number.
Go where the work is.
Yeah. And so she wants to call right away, but the boyfriend does not believe her. So she is constantly terrified. She believes it 110%, but the boyfriend.
How the fuck did they start dating?
I don't know. They don't.
How does that not come up in like the third
They
date?
basically say that they dated for a while.
By the way, I got a demon.
She never told him about any of this shit until he moves in, and then he finds out.
Oh, nice.
That's literally, it's part of the script. Like, he's like, you didn't tell me when I moved in. And so he's a complete
he moved into
dick
her
to
house.
Her. Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Anywhere she goes, it follows her.
Yeah, it follows her around. I remember that.
So basically, every night, it progresses. Like the first night, it's some creepy noises, and you see the door move in the middle of the night. So much so that they don't even notice until the next day when he kind of fast forwards through all the footage, because he's a day trader. So instead of studying stock trends and what he should be buying, he's rewatching himself sleep. Genius. Anyways, he would go through, and then he would notice, oh, the door moved, and then he would show it to Katie, and then the next day something more would be a banging. Anyways, it progresses. Every night that they show, it gets worse and worse and worse until it starts to get like really bad. Like he's knocking things down. The demon gets her to sleepwalk outside and like just sit on the swing. She has no recollection of doing it. Little stuff like that. None of it's really that scary. The only things that are quote unquote scary are the loud banging noises, because you just don't anticipate them. They just come out of nowhere. It's just like a huge clang. That's like the scariest part of the whole film. In the end, the demon yanks her out of bed and drags her into another room. The boyfriend goes and gets her and brings her back into the room, finally gets her to calm down. And he notices a bite mark on like her ass or like her back or something. And he goes, oh, it looks like you've been bit. And then the next night she murders him. And that's the movie.
Yeah, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I think obviously, I think that you're right in terms of like, there's nothing that's really scary. I think this really plays heavily on people's imaginations of this could be anybody kind of things, like the realist. You try to add
You're
realism,
trying to make it realistic.
Yeah,
It was
I had
not interesting.
Yeah, I had a friend that was she grew up Catholic. She wasn't Catholic anymore, but Catholicism especially is like very fearful of demons and all that. That's where exorcism come from. And like this scared her more than like other people that I knew, because that was in her head, like that this stuff happens to people. And so like I can see how that worked on that level. But otherwise, as far as scary, yeah, it's kind of a slow burn. Like it's all the little subtle things that are there to seem realistic in that regard.
Well, I hope they improve over the next 5 films.
I don't think so. I think it's a steady downhill climb.
Yeah, if horror franchises taught us anything.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Definitely get better.
I have a little bit of hope that maybe there will be story in the second one, because there is no story in this one. It is literally 2 people bickering and then sleeping, and then bickering and then sleeping. That is the entirety of the film.
So it's about marriage.
Very little information.
They're not even married.
Yeah, you get very little information. They even have a callback with the psychic. They can't get a hold of the demon psychic because he's out of town.
Sure.
They get the psychic who told them, sorry, I can't help you, to come back. And he comes back, he opens the door, he walks in, he goes, oh fuck no, bye. And then leaves. Literally, like you were like, why did you even include that? Like it didn't serve any purpose.
See how severe, how
bad it is.
Oh, and the psychic, like the actor, was awful. Just like
I think I remember
he probably fronted them the $15,000, and the prerequisite
that was
just to be in it.
He was in the film, because there's no other way that guy got in the film, because he was bad, super bad. The 2 that were in it were fine, I guess. Like they weren't really doing anything other than playing a bickering couple, which might have just been them. I don't know, right? Because they played themselves. Like they're actors like the Blair Witch. In order to make it seem real, the character names are the actors' names.
Yeah.
So, and at the end, the male Mika dies, and Katie is nowhere to be found. No one has ever seen her since. But from what I could tell, she's in like all the rest of the movies. So there is going to be some sort of, through line.
Yeah. I feel like
so now they're going to have to tell a story.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm curious for the second one to see where it goes.
I don't think I've seen any of the other ones, but I do remember, I feel it might be even the third one, where it's almost like a prequel. It's about her when she was younger, like when she was 8.
I think it does. Something I said or read said that like some were prequels and some were sequels, and some were actually running in the exact same timeline in a different place. So I think that's kind of how they're playing with it. But in order to do those things, they've got to be telling a story at this point. So I'm curious how they do that and continue this god awful dynamic that is their signature.
Yeah, she's in 5 of them.
Yeah,
she's in 5 of them. So get used to her.
Right? I told you she's in like.
Is it the same actress in all 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
So I think this is going to be an extra painful screwing. So
it looks like they get
looking like it's going to be on nightmare level.
Yeah. No, you know what?
I don't know about that.
That's a strong statement.
Dude, you guys did not just watch that movie. That movie was unwatchable. It was like sitting at home with your parents from like when you were a kid.
What? Paranormal Activity?
Yeah. That movie sucked.
I'd watch Paranormal Activity over the majority of the nightmare movies.
Not me. I will say this. It was a tight 88 minutes. And I've looked, and they all range between like 80 and like 92 minutes.
And good. See, you can get through them.
There are extended cuts.
What are you crying about?
Why on fucking earth would I want to watch more?
I mean, you need to get the whole story, so I think you should go for the extended cuts.
You have to make sure you see that door swing open every time.
The extended cuts are where they actually do show the night where nothing happens.
Yeah. As comparison.
That's the one. That's how they throw you off.
Part 2 is a different family at the same time. So part 2 is that one that's in the same timeline, but somewhere else.
They always do it with 2, don't they? They just try some experiment, doesn't work, and then they just go back to whatever they were doing for
whatever was working before. So there's going to be some stuff happening. We'll see. I'm curious. The Rotten Tomato scores steadily decrease from here. This one, by the way, had a very shocking 83% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh, and you didn't like that.
No, well, I was like,
you fall within that 17%.
Here's the thing. Being that it was the first one and it clearly was good enough to spark, 6 films, I purchased this one.
Ooh my.
I will not be making that mistake.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Because there was no other way to watch it other than if I paid for a Starz subscription through something.
Oh, really?
Starz is the one who has it. So
which one was? This was just the first one. Yeah. Wow. 83%. Huh.
Yeah. Shocking, right? It's a steady downhill from there on the. I think the last one's like a 14 or something.
Don't worry. I'm gonna spin on Friday the 13th tonight. So
that would be more entertaining, I think, than this. Like that's at least got personality. This was literally just 2 people bitching at each other.
All right, Alex.
Sorry, I was just looking up the nightmare scores on Rotten Tomatoes.
Just to compare.
Yeah. So I am tasked begrudgingly, obviously, with watching the new trilogy of Planet of the Apes, which is Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then War of the Planet of the Apes, which are all way too long of titles. They should have done something about that, but it doesn't matter. I've watched the first 2 so far, and I had already seen these, but that's fine. I think most of our franchises, a lot of us have seen a lot of them. I really enjoy these movies. The second movie specifically is one of my actual favorite movies, just in general of all time. But we'll start with the first one. I won't take too long because I'm just going to say it right out front. I recommend all of these, and I recommend you watch all 3 of them relatively close together because they tie together very intimately. The first one, all 3 of them are about Caesar, who, if you saw the original Planet of the Apes, I believe there's like a statue to Caesar in the ape village, or it's in one of them. I don't remember if it's the first one, but there is like a statue to Caesar.
And Caesar, wasn't he the son of Zira and the Roddy McDowell ape?
Well, in this universe, Caesar is the first ape ever.
Right.
Like that's so maybe the Caesar that was a statue was named Caesar after this particular Caesar. Like he's sort of like the Jesus of the apes, I guess you could say, like the worshipped one. But this the first movie sort of talks about his birth into the world and his evolution and how he becomes what he is. The gist of the story is that his mother is being experimented on with this trial drug to cure Alzheimer's. And they're making some progress, and they're thinking like, okay, we're gonna pitch this, and this is gonna do gangbusters because it's gonna cure Alzheimer's. So it's like a big deal. When they're about to like take her out of her cage to sort of show her off to the board, she starts going nuts and kind of starts running away from everybody and trashing stuff. And she doesn't like hurt anybody, but she's just like escaping. And so she ends up getting killed by one of the security guards who just doesn't know what the hell's going on. He just shoots her out of self-defense. And it turns out that she wasn't going crazy. She was defending her newborn child who was in her cage with her, like underneath her like bed, essentially. So they find him later, and that's Caesar. And because she had been experimented on with the drug, it passed on to him retroactively and naturally. So he's the first ape that has this gene that, curing Alzheimer's. The thing about Alzheimer's is it makes your brain essentially stop functioning the way it's supposed to. So in the reverse fashion, it makes Caesar incredibly smart. He's basically able to solve puzzles, do sign language, like all this kind of stuff. And he just gets smarter and smarter and smarter as time goes on. So the first movie is about his evolution and sort of how he becomes who he becomes, which is the leader of the apes, essentially. I mean, if you've seen the original apes, you realize the entire Earth, basically all the humans are gone and it's just a bunch of apes running everything. And these 3 movies are not like a direct bridge into that, but this is the beginning of that. So kind of seeing what happens to the humans, how the apes get the way that they do. And yeah, the first one I would say of the 3 is definitely like the weakest. That being said, it's not a bad film. It's definitely not the strongest of the 3, but it's still definitely an enjoyable watch. And then the second film, like I said, I think it's just a damn near masterpiece. Like it's really phenomenal what they do. Number one, the CG is even today is out of control. Like the way he like looks back here, like he looks like a real fucking monkey half the movie. Like and all the monkeys look that way. It's crazy.
Whoa. You're saying they're not?
Well, they are. This is a documentary. That's right. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. I was like, wait a second.
But basically, the second movie takes place about 10 years after the first one. Again, you kind of know what this is leading to. A lot of humans have started to sort of die, and apes have sort of retreated into the woods to live their lives peacefully. And through some happenstance, humans and apes come together again. And it's a story of them sort of trying to coexist, I guess. But a lot of apes don't trust humans because a lot of the apes that are there were experiments. That's why they're the way that they are. And then the humans don't trust the apes because some of them think it's the apes' fault that the disease happened, even though it was an experiment in a lab that humans did to apes. So there's a lot of mistrust. But then there's like Caesar, who he's seen the good side of humans. Like there's a character in the first film that took care of him. And so he tries to see the good in everybody. And it's this whole big conflict about them trying to make everything work. And then the third film, which I haven't watched yet, which I'll watch before next week, is called War of the Planet of the Apes. So spoilers, it doesn't work out. But they're really, really great films. And if you haven't seen them, even if you don't care about the originals, because frankly, I don't. Like, I've seen the first one and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But it's not like, I don't think it's this incredible film. I think it's just a fun time. These films are top notch. The second and the third one specifically, they're directed by Matt Reeves, who is the guy who's doing the Batman film. And he's a great filmmaker. Like, just the way that he uses composition and just timing. I mean, half the second film is just apes doing sign language with each other. There's not a lot of dialogue. So it's really cool what he can do. Kind of reminds me of like WALL-E in that way, where there's not a lot of dialogue, but he does a lot with like emotion, and the CG is insane. Like their facial animations are easy enough to read, and they're great films. So I don't have much else to say about them. Watch them if you haven't, all 3 of them, and enjoy yourself. They are very bleak, I will say that.
Yeah, for sure.
So they're not happy films for sure. They're dark. Sam was fucking like hiding in the blanket half the time we were watching them because they get really, really intense at times.
Yeah, spoilers, humans are assholes.
Yeah. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them are. Yeah. And yeah, that's not necessarily incorrect. So, but yeah, definitely watch the movies. They're all great.
Okie doke. Well, that leaves me with The Godfather Part 3. If you've seen the Godfather trilogy, you know how unnecessary the third one was. Even though it was also written by Mario Puzo and Francis Ford Coppola, which I found odd. But yeah, the third one takes place many, many years later in the Godfather series. You have Michael Corleone, who is trying to make a final push to take the family in completely legitimate ways, getting out of the whole mafia type of thing. The story itself is, I don't know, it's kind of sloppy, kind of hard to follow. You get Andy Garcia coming in as, come to find out he's Sonny's son, who dies in the first one. And his name is Vincent Mancini, which I don't understand because his dad's last name was Corleone, but whatever. He comes in, he's kind of like a hothead, like his dad was, having some beef with, one of the heads of the family, or, one of the captains in the area that is under Michael's rule, whatever. So it's basically, like I said, it's the story of Michael Corleone trying to go legit, trying to mend fences with his ex-wife, played by Diane Keaton. His daughter and his son are now grown. His son wants to go into music, and his daughter, who is now 15, played by Sofia Coppola, is in love with her cousin Vincent, and he in turn is also in love with her, and that's kind of a creepy subplot of the whole film, of them being in love with each other. But the acting is subpar, even for Al Pacino. He didn't seem like he wanted to be there. It's like some parts it seemed reminiscent of his character of Michael Corleone in the first two films, which were very closely related. It's like as he got older, he just became someone totally different. It seemed like a different character altogether, in my opinion. But it's a very long movie. I guess if you watch the Godfather series, is almost like something you have to watch. It's not as bad as like Crystal Skull or Beverly Hills Cop 3 in terms of the last movie of the series. It has some interesting things to see, and it's still filmed and shot very similarly to the other two. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's kind of stupid. So that's the only reason I say watch it. I would never recommend just watching it as a standalone, or it's just pretty bad acting. I mean, even Andy Garcia is pretty stupid. The dialogue, some of the scenes don't make any sense. Taya Shire, who returns as Connie, Michael's sister, she is horrible in this. Some horrible line reads and scenes that are out of nowhere. So
you're burying the lead that Sofia Coppola is like unwatchable in the film.
She is horrible in this film. Definitely.
Your usual hatred of children is not coming out in this.
Well, she's 15. I mean, she's not like a child. It's like, damn. It's like, obviously your daddy is directing this.
Oh, yeah.
So
the first two on Rotten Tomatoes have 97 and 96 respectively, and then this one jumps down to a 68. Would you say that that's fair, or is that too high?
68. That's
it's
fair.
Not an awful movie. It just does not belong in this trilogy.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. That's not it.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably fair. It's still a better than average film.
Better than average, yeah. But if it wasn't The Godfather, that's the thing.
Yeah.
All right. So I got to.
And no one has anything to screw you with currently.
Oh, like any vetoes or movie steals or anything like that?
No. And
just the echo.
Yeah, you got a little bit of echo.
It's because he's got two things.
It didn't do that last time. How do I turn that on?
I don't hear it now.
Just hit mute on the.
Yeah, just mute the.
It is muted. Oh wait, hold on.
I'm not hearing the echo.
You're not?
I muted the speaker. That's what it was.
Yeah, there it goes.
Yeah,
okay.
Hold
on. I got it.
Part of the
recently.
Right.
Oh no! Don't tell me it didn't.
Did it erase your wheel?
This is the part of.
No, I got it. I got one. I got yeah. Well, because I had to recently erase my phone and restore it.
Imagine if that didn't come back. Oh no.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's here.
I think that punishment would have been automatic.
Yeah,
Friday. Just like
you're like, well, you get Friday the 13th then.
Yep.
Oh wait, but there's a lot of stuff on here that I'd taken off. That
well, just spin, and if it's something we've gotten, we'll just do it again.
All right, I'll have to do that. All right.
Yeah, if it's something we've already gotten, you get the American Pie trilogy.
Did you want to add something to this?
Well, no, I mean, I don't have anything, but also I don't have the ability to share it.
It's fine.
He has to give me the ability to do it.
Come on,
I
Peter.
Can show.
Hey,
so
Peter.
Can screw up Kevin's editing.
Sorry.
All right, you guys have already fucked it. David just left in the middle of the episode for a while.
I didn't leave.
Black square
for my screen. You guys all froze, and I was like, "Oh crap! I better close this out before it like crashes my computer." Nope. As soon as I closed it out, it crashed my computer. So
maybe you should have left it open.
Well, I don't think the last time it happened, I left it open, and you guys could talk, and I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me at all. It cut me off. So it might have been a better show if I had left it open.
No.
Can I share?
Don't say that.
Hold on.
Can you share?
Just waiting.
And now you should be able to share.
Wow.
Here we go.
Like the best podcast ever. Right
Yeah. I'm gonna make sure you leave all this in for the audio.
If anyone has, if this is anyone's first episode, they've already stopped listening.
Yeah.
And
we always say that though.
And if it's like if they've been with us for a while, they know. They know.
They know. Yeah, they know
of
what they're
course.
getting into.
Yeah.
They're like,
All
fuck
right.
it.
So here's the thing on this wheel. Not only are there things on here that we've already watched because it's an older version, but anything we've added, I don't think is on here. So I don't know what that might be.
I took Planet of the Apes, which is the only thing I added, and then the only other things we added were American Pie Presents, and
What is when there was something
Mad
else?
Max. I want to say
There's I thought Mad Max was already on there.
Well, all right. Let's see what we get here. Here we go.
Really hoping for 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
Twilight.
No. What? Yeah.
Okay.
You
Oh,
lost.
man.
Jesus.
Back to the Future.
Back to-
Another one where you get two good ones and then a meh one.
Well, I actually like them all. I am fine with that for sure.
I like 3 personally. It's not great.
Yeah.
It's not
but
great.
it's
it's
fun.
fun.
It's fun.
It's
It's
kind of like
fun.
Marvel
It's
movies,
fun.
right?
I said
Like a
meh.
bad-
I said meh, not bad. I said meh.
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 Yeah. I mean, the train. Come on, but but no, it's meh. Well, cool. Whew. Phew.
Yeah,
Yeah,
last
really dodged
weekend
a
when
bullet
we
on that
went camping, we stopped in a city that they had used in Back to the Future 3 as
Nice.
part of the Old West.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
exciting. There you go.
All right. Well, I guess that we're done. I guess we're done.
Wraps it up.
I guess
This
it's
may be
over. Goodbye.
The under 2 hour
Yes,
episode.
okay, goodbye. Click.
Yeah. Roll credits.
So I don't think is there anything coming out this week that
Well,
I'm
I
gonna
know
try
that
to watch-
Angelina Jolie
I
movie
was
dropped last
just
night.
about to say
Yeah.
Those Who Wish Me Dead, the one that Angelina Jolie. I'm gonna try to watch that, and I still haven't
Same.
gotten around to the Michael B. Jordan one, the Tom Clancy one. I want to try to get to that.
Oh yeah, me either. I do
Without
wanna watch that.
Remorse, and then just more Clone Wars and not Clone Wars, Bad Batch and Mythic Quest. I think
you got to put down the controller though. Can you do
it's gonna
that?
be tough. I'm in Mass Effect mode, dude. Like it's a job. Like there's a lot going on with Mass Effect. So
Does it pay well?
no,
Nope.
not if you're a Paragon, which I am. So
Oh yeah, I played through the whole series twice, one on either side, just to try
see.
it out. Yeah.
It's quite different.
Yeah. My Paragon, like my Paragon was a she, and she saved everyone in the second, and I was
Yep.
super proud of that.
Yep.
super proud. I did not succeed with the bad guy.
The renegade.
He did not save everybody.
No, yeah. What we're talking about, Opie, is the choices you make. You can also make morally good or morally bad choices, and it shapes who your character is as a person. So a paragon or a renegade.
I really wish people
male
on
or
the podcast could see your face.
That's one impressive thing that they did, is that the main character could be male or female. So like,
and good or bad, or kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
If you're a listener, please go watch the video just to see Opie's face.
Oh god.
Just go watch the video.
Super excited.
Timestamp this, go to the end and just watch his face. It's
we're done.
Something to behold. Yeah.
Here we go. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess until next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. If you're still listening to this.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Seriously.
Please subscribe to the Mass Effect podcast next week.
Wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up. Because I see that's the only way you can still, Lights
you
green.
might be driving. Please wake up.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, we'll talk to you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
I don't remember in the last episode. I don't think so. Did we talk Mythic Quest?
No.
We talked about talking about Mythic Quest.
Yeah, we talked about like the first season a little bit.
Yeah, I've watched.
And I didn't watch last night's Mythic Quest yet.
I watched. So Mythic Quest, I'm completely caught up on. Like I said, Bad Batch up until this week. I haven't watched this week's yet.
I don't know how many episodes there are in the first season. I think I'm on episode 7 or 8. I've watched.
Of Mythic Quest?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're almost done. There's not a ton.
Have you? Is that before or after the episode with
Josh Johnson?
Yeah.
Who is Josh Johnson?
Or Jake Johnson.
Jake Johnson.
There's like a special episode that's right there in the middle. That's just.
It's a masterpiece, dude.
That was like the season finale, I thought.
There was at least one more after it, because the season finale.
It was the episode. It was the penultimate episode.
I think so. I think you're right.
Right on the cusp of that.
It is.
Yeah.
You would know if you've seen it.
I have not seen it. I know.
Yeah, it is.
You know. Yeah.
It is different than everything you've seen so far, and it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah. Seeing that monkey over your shoulder makes me want to kick you in the dick after having watched this.
Nothing's stopping you from. Oh, that's right. I'm not here today.
It's it's episode 5. It's smack dab in the middle.
Oh, then I should have already seen it.
A Dark Quiet Death. So. No, I'm looking at it on Apple TV right now.
I could have swore that was like right before the end.
Yeah, no, there's still another. Right. I know. So did I. But it's. I'm literally looking at it right now. A Dark Quiet Death.
Damn, you're right.
It felt later in the season to me too. But that, I mean, in some ways, that's just a testament to this show. We'll talk about it on the show.
Well, that means that you've seen it.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. I've seen it all the way up, all the way up through.
No, I mean
David.
Oh yeah,
I'm checking right now. Yeah, I'm going through the episodes to see.
Because there's 9 regular season episodes, and then they did a 10th episode that was afterwards. That was a quarantine episode.
Yo, I had not watched that.
Oh yeah, no, that episode's fucking dope.
The quarantine
episode. Forgot about that episode
with Jake Johnson.
Yeah, the Dark Quiet Death.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great episode.
Oh,
I wish it had tied back into everything else. So
it did a little bit at the very end. There's because it's their building,
right?
Yeah.
No, at the end of the episode.
Barely at the end of the episode.
You find out at the end of the episode that the building that they had used is the same one that the Mythic Quest team is in now.
Yeah. And also that the venture capitalist was the same one, and they made they made the decision to go with Mythic Quest because the last time they made that decision, it worked out so well.
Right.
I totally forgot about that episode because it is not at all anything like the rest.
No, it's totally different.
Yeah. And that's so I didn't watch the quarantine episode or the
the Christmas party or whatever, the holiday party.
And so I was like, oh, sweet, new season. I'll catch up on it tonight because I had some time. The girls were out doing something. And I wound up watching the quarantine episode, the special episodes. Dude, that quarantine episode is
really good.
Poppy and Ian, I'm not, no spoiler, but that moment between Poppy and Ian, bro, I straight broke down watching that. It was just, there was something about that moment that was just so deep.
It's really good. Yeah. And they did their quarantine episode was better than anybody else's because a bunch of people did quarantine episodes.
Hands
like The
down.
Office, or not The Office, Parks and Rec came back and did one. And I think
Parks
Community did one.
I thought theirs actually worked fairly strong.
It was fine, but it's not. Yeah, it's not as good as the Mythic Quest.
Yeah, the Mythic Quest one's pretty perfect.
They have the advantage of like their show is current, like their characters are now and they look like now and they're used to like their mannerisms, etc. Like I think some of the Parks and Rec people had a little bit of a tough time like snapping back into it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it was also for them, it was kind of for fun though, for the Parks and Rec.
Yeah, of course. And it was fun.
Yeah.